name is Colman Domingo, and I play the role of Cutler. August Wilson is a titan of the American theater, plain and simple. I've been familiar with his work for many years, as most of my career has been in the theater, and I've been privileged enough to even direct a production of his called Seven Guitars. I directed that at Actors Theater of Louisville maybe about 5 years ago. But before that, my introduction as an actor to his work was in a production of Fences at Theater Works in California back in the early 2000s, where I played the role of Gabriel. And the thing that I've learned about August Wilson in every one of his works is that they're beasts. They have to sort of climb on top of and sort of enjoy the ride. But it always takes you to places that you never imagined. It's more than a meal. It keeps interrogating itself and turning in on itself. And once you think you understand the piece or understand a motive, you actually don't again. There's something even more to mine again and again. So I love his work. His work is essential. It's work that I make sure that whenever I have an opportunity to teach, that I teach the work to students as well, because I'm like, you need to know O'Neill, you need to know you need to know Pinter, you need to know Shakespeare, you need to know August Wilson. Well, I think that's the dance that we are engaging in right now with George Wolfe at the helm, is one of trying to figure out how this adaptation, which is it is theater, it is theatrical, people are lyrical with language, and how can you translate that into film? And I think Ruben Santiago Hudson did a really beautiful job when it comes to the screenplay. But I think what we have to sort of find are these moments where we land, but moments when the dialogue just pops and it does crackle, because it is inherently theatrical. So to not shy away from that, to understand that is exactly the form that we're taking into this film adaptation, and to know that that's a bonus. And that's something that I think probably audiences are not usually adept and accustomed to, but I think that we have probably have a great sly way to get them to understand the humanity of these characters with this theatrical adaptation. It is in the fabric of every one of August Wilson's plays that he's a jazz aficionado and an aficionado of the blues. And he went another step and really made it about the blues this time. So I think that we're all, like I explored with Seven Guitars, that there were 7 different instruments. There were 7 guitars playing. You're playing on different strings in many ways, trying to create this orchestra. And I think with this band in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, we are essential to each other, and have I don't know. I feel like that we possibly even have we owe each other something, like how Pieces of the Band does. How you need to have the voice, you need the piano, you need the bass. You need the trumpet and the trombone, and when they work together beautifully, it is a sound that is not dissonant. It is a sound that is actually, it is like, I guess, it sounds like maybe it will take you to heaven. But I think that sometimes it's dissonant sounds, and I think that that's exactly what's happening in our piece. It's wrestling with its sounds. The thing that I know, if I don't know anything else, but I know how to create an ensemble. And that's from my years in the theater. And I think that's not only just rehearsing, that's having dinners, that's in interrogating, that's having an interest in each other, to know where they come from, to hear the rhythms of their voice, to watch how they move. I feel like that we all are interested in investigating that. And I think that we've had a blessing of having 2 weeks of rehearsal for this experience, and that's a luxury. But I love that, especially the band members, we rehearse our lines all the time, because I think that we want them to just start to, we've made certain decisions with our director, and now it's time for it to flow. So it's just breath. And so every single day we take ourselves through a line through. So we're not thinking about it anymore. We're just living and breathing in it. So which I think that's something that we just start to do organically, because you never know with everyone's process, whether people want to be a bit more private about their process and save their performance for the day. But I think that George has assembled a lot of people who respect the theater and understand the work at hand, and understanding that we need to actually get on top of this beast, like I said, that August Wilson has laid out for us. Cutler's role in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is the de facto leader of the band. He is the leader when Ma is not present, although it is Ma's band. He also has Ma's ear. He's also the representative of the band to Mr. Sturdivant and Mr. Irvin. So he's sort of he's balancing 3 worlds, I think, in many ways, and he's trying to be responsible for all of them. So how do you manage a band and also manage what the needs of Ma Rainey are, and how the band is presented to the white leaders of this recording studio? There's a huge conflict. I think it's a conflict that's age old about the new young whippersnappers who want to do something different than the old folks. And I think it's something I think now that I've become I'm almost 50 years old, and I feel like I have an idea of the way things should be done, and then I have young kids who may be 20 years old saying, "Oh, I think that there's a different way," with social media and things like that. And I'm just saying, "Oh no, social media doesn't have to lead your career and all that. Have to be more private. It's about the work." But they have a point about how to make a bit more noise. So I think I'm taking that modern context into this context of 1927, which basically Levy is basically just trying to blow his horn louder and do something different, upend the systems that are at place to do things a bit differently. And it's challenging the status quo, which is the people who've been doing it for a long time, and understanding why they've been doing it this way, knowing what opportunities there were for African Americans, and how I think Toledo says it. He says you're lucky they let you be a musician. So even that ideology, that thought that someone has allowed us to do this, so you don't buck the system. And Levy comes in wanting to buck it all and really, upend all of it. And I think you need both. And I think I think that's the dissonance that we're always examining. And how do we create something new? We have the old folks and the new folks. I think August Wilson is akin to William Shakespeare in that way, where he's dealing with things that are age old, and the arguments that we're constantly having about who we are in America, and how do we define ourselves, plain and simple. And I think, and then what do we fight for? And so I think, and having agency in the world, that is something that I think August Wilson is deeply interested in. Like, who owns what? Who has agency in the world? And that is time and again, especially for African Americans in America, and what we're trying to examine and trying to find our way, and trying to find our way not only with each other but with the outside world. So we're dealing with the macro and the micro, which I think is really, I don't know, it can be subversive, but it's also very direct at the same time. Branford Marsalis is, first of all, working with one of the greats. He's first of all, he's such a gentleman and a kind and gracious man. He was very open, I think, as a band leader and an exceptional musician in his own right, where he sort of let you, we all had our coaches coming into this. I know I asked for my coach the moment I got cast. I said I need a coach, like immediately, and and I didn't know at that point that Branford was actually going to be doing the music, but I wanted to set myself up to know as much as I can and to learn as much as I could, and respect the work, respect musicians, and to understand, like, I will never say that I know how to play. I can mimic now. I can mimic the slide positions, etc. And Branford is just a gentle guide. And what I love is that he's a perfectionist like everyone else. It's like, I know I am. I'm harder on myself than anyone else. And Branford he's like, no, let's do it again. Let's do it again. And he wants you to get it right.